Kia ora, Lara here, and I am doing killing two birds with one stone today with a favourite autumn warm drink hop as well as Scraptember Day 14. And for this Scraptember, the focus today is mixed media, so I'm going to use a little bit of texture paste, I'm going to grab out some distress oxides, and I'm going to use some stencils and things to just create a little bit of an interesting background on some white daisy cardstock. So I'm sort of still trying to work from minimal supplies. I did have to go and grab some of my other distress oxides from the craft room. My daughter's actually staying at the moment. She is studying in another part of the country, so she's actually in that room, but that's absolutely okay. I was able to sort of sneak in and grab some bits and pieces from in there. So I'm using some of the close to my heart stencils. So there's this particular one that I'm using is sort of a card background size, so it's perfect for cards and stuff like that, but you can see here that I am using it for different sizes, different aspects, and just playing around with it. So I could have gone on further with this, and as I pull this page together, a lot of the texture paste that I just popped on there doesn't quite show anymore, but it's just sort of peeking out. So maybe I would have done that wider if I was doing it again. So here I was just having a look at which papers help this little photo pop. So it was a favourite winter drink. I'm kind of a coffee drinker. My son sort of challenged me the other day to not drink coffee, saying it's sort of an addiction. I've given up coffee before, and that's okay. But I took the challenge, and not drinking coffee at the moment, but who's to say what'll happen again in the future. We were discussing it the other night, and it's the kind of the romanticism of a cup of coffee. Sort of, we've got an espresso machine, and seeing that froth and stuff come through and making a really nice coffee. However, because I'm not drinking coffee at the moment, I have documented here a lovely lemon and honey drink that my mum made for me when we were in Dunedin recently. Had a little bit of a cold coming on, and mum was taking really good care of us, and she made this really nice lemon and honey drink. It even had real lemons sitting in it. So just wanted to document that. It's not necessarily my favourite winter drink, but it's a favourite. It's a warm drink. It's perfect for when you have colds and stuff like that. So a lemon and honey drink. So I'm also going to go over the top using some distress oxide. So I'm using the mustard one here, and I'm just using a blendy tool just to sort of smear some of the stuff through this other stencil. So this stencil is sort of made for our long cards, I believe, but as I'm showing here, you can use it for all sorts of things. So I'm just making sure here that these yellow spots will sort of peek out around it. I was trying to get a little bit of inspiration from the use of the lemons that were in the cup all around there. So just putting them in the similar places to where I've done the texture paste. So when you look at this layout, you can see all the different texture and the layers and stuff, and it's really quite cool. It's not so obvious when you're looking down on it like you are here. So happy with that, but I decided I actually need to bring in another colour. So I just bring in this raspberry colour here, and it blends a little bit with, because I didn't clean the stencil because I was being lazy, it blends a little bit with it and kind of gives a slightly more orange tone than I would perhaps have intended, but I actually really like how it works out in the end, which when you talk about it's not a mistake, it was the way it was meant to be. And so in this case, that was the way it was meant to be. So loving how this sort of helps this photo pop, that texture in the background, as well as the distress oxides adding to the Scraptember theme or challenge idea of now I've forgotten the word of it as I sit here and think of it, all the different textures and layers in there. So also I roughed up the the mat behind the photos, and now I am just sort of going through, and I decided to tier the background as part of that mixed media focus. That was the word I was trying to think of before. The mixed media sort of there, so that I'm using the papers, the layers, the textures. I've got the texture paste in there, the distress oxides. So just mixing up that media a little bit, using some different things on the page, different layers is in there as my mixed media focus. So Don't be afraid to use the stencils in different ways, even if they're not the right size. You can play around with them. The other kind of stenciling I like to do is making stencils on the Cricut, so I can make them myself just to match the themes or whatever it is that I am working on. So now it's time to stick down my photos, and I'm going to use the 3D foam tape just to lift that up a little bit, and then time to finish off the layout with a little bit more embellishing and just sort of zhuzhing it up a little bit, for want of a better word. So you can see here that when I've put that down, I've actually covered up most of where I did the texture paste in the centerpiece, but there's just little peeky bits of it sneaking out the sides, which is quite nice to look at. So I'm going to add some stitching around the edge. So here's another kind of media. So texture paste, distress oxides, paper, cardstock, and now I'm going to add some embroidery floss as well. So I'm just pulling in an orange floss, an orangey. It's not quite fluoro, but it's got a little bit of a brightness to it, which is quite nice. And now I'm actually pulling in some stickers as well. So this is another kind of media. And so the stickers and the papers that I've used for this layout are all from the Close to My Heart Flower Shop collection. I have, if you've been following along for my other Scraptember layouts, I have deviated from my tramping book that I'm putting together, mainly because I wanted to combine this with the hop that I'm doing. So I've just turned over my Versamat. It's got a really good stamping side to it. The foam helps have a really good stamp impression, and I'm just sort of using this kind of typewriter font Alpha here to sort of do a mini title kind of. It's not dominating the page, not super big. So just putting that title on there. Now on the cup it's got the word morena, which is te reo Māori for good morning. And so it was quite a nice morning drink to have with that nice little greeting sitting on the cup. And this week also in New Zealand happens to be Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, which is Māori Language Week. So kind of fitting that I'm scrapbooking and documenting this on this layout. So just adding in some journaling about how nice it was to have this cup, and also a note, this cup of lemon honey drink, and a bit of a note there too about the word morena and how it was a nice morning greeting. So I've got a few of the yellowish stickers from the Flower Shop sticker sheet, and I'm going to sort of tuck these nice flowers in somewhere. Decide I think go to the right of the layout, and I tuck them in a little bit without covering up the words and that other sort of journaling circle. So here we have my finished layout with a few different media that I've used on that. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Make sure you check below for links to the other participants in this hop, as well as the playlist for Scraptember, and everyone that's playing along with that. Thanks heaps for watching, and if you've enjoyed this, I hope you'll subscribe, and I look forward to checking out what other people have been up to, both for Scraptember and for this YouTube hop. Thanks for watching.